Good morning everyone. Basa na ng Bible guys. Judges chapter 11 and 12. Pang March 31 na natin to guys. And Luke chapter 6 verse 1 to 26. Nahulog yung tanda. Diyan natin yung ipipin natin. Basa na. Jephthah, the Gileadite, was mighty warrior. His father was Gilead, his mother was a prostitute. Gilead's wife also bore him sons, and when they were grown up, they drove Jephthah away. You are not going to get any inheritance in our family, they said, because you are the son of another woman. So Jephthah fled from his brothers and settled in the land of Tob, where a group of adventurers gathered around him and followed him. Sometime later, when the Ammonites made war on Israel, the elders of Gilead went to get Jephthah from the land of Tob. Come, they said, be our commander so we can fight the Ammonites. Jephthah said to them, didn't you hate me and drive me from my father's house? Why do you come to me now when you're in trouble? The elders of Gilead said to him, nevertheless we are turning to you now. Come with us to fight the Ammonites, and you will be our head over all who live in Gilead. Jephthah answered, suppose you take me back to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gives them to me. Will I really be your head? Kahapon nga pala guys, diba tinanong ko sa inyo yung flight? Tingin ko pagkaintindi ko talaga fight siya. Tingnan mo rito oh. Supposed to you take me back to fight. So, ibig sabihin may typographical error. No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure din. Suppose you take me back to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gives them to me, will really be your head? The elders of Gilead replied, the Lord is our witness. We will certainly do as you say. So Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and commander over them, and he repeated all his words before the Lord in Mizpah. Then Jephthah sent messengers to the Ammonite king with the question, what do you have against us that you have attacked our country? The king of the Ammonites answered Jephthah's messengers, when Israel came up out of Egypt, they took away my land from the Aroer. Sabi ko sa inyo gumanti lang sila. Yun nga ang mahirap Sa lupa talaga sila nag-aaway. Alam mo guys, issue talaga yung lupa. Kahit sa panahon natin ngayon. The king of the Ammonites answered Jephthah's messengers, when Israel came up out of Egypt, they took away my land from the Arnon to the Jabbok, all the way to the Jordan. Now give it back peaceably. Jephthah sent back messengers to the Ammonite king, saying, this is what Jephthah says, Israel did not take the land of Moab or the land of the Ammonites, but when they came up out of Egypt, Israel went through the desert to the Red Sea and on to Kadesh. Then Israel sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, give us permission to go through your country, but the king of Edom would not listen. They sent also the king of Moab, and he refused, so Israel stayed at Kadesh. Next they traveled through the desert, skirted the lands of Edom and Moab, passed along the eastern side of the country of Moab, and camped on the other side of the Arnon. They did not enter the territory of Moab, for the Arnon was its border. Then Israel sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Ammonites, who ruled in Heshbon, and said to him, let us pass through your country to our own place. Sihon, however, did not trust Israel to pass through his territory. He mustered all his men and encamped at Jahaz and fought with Israel. Then the Lord God of Israel gave Sihon and all his men into Israel's hands, and they defeated him. Israel took over all the land of the Ammonites who lived in that country, capturing all of it, from the Arnon to the Jabbok, and from the desert to the Jordan. Pero talagang ginera nila yun eh. Now, since the Lord, the God of Israel, have driven the Amorites out before his people Israel, what right have you take? What have you to take it over? Will you not take what your God Jemos gives you? Oh, mayroon silang another God. Likewise, whatever the Lord our God has given us, we will possess. Are you better than Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab? Did he ever quarrel with Israel or fight with him? For 300 years. Wow. Israel occupied Heshbon, Aroer, the surrounding settlements, and all the towns along the Arnon. Why didn't you retake them during that time? Oo nga naman. Pero kasi naman, pag nabasa na itong Bible, syempre, sabi ko na may magkiklaim talagang generation eh. Sana hindi na lang sinulat para hindi malaman. Para hindi malaman na genera nila. Tapos nakuha nila yung lupa. I have not wronged you, but you are doing me wrong by waging war against me. Let the Lord the judge decide the dispute this day between the Israelites and the Ammonites. The king of Arnon, however, paid not attention to the message Jephthah sent him. Then the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah. He crossed Gilead and Manasseh, passed through Mizpah of Gilead, and from there he advanced against the Ammonites. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord. If you give the Ammonites into my hands, whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me, when I return in triumph from the Ammonites, will be the Lord's, and I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering. Hala, nag-promise siya kay Father God. Then Jephthah went over to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gave them into his hands. He devastated 20 towns from Aroer to the vicinity of Minnith, as far as Abel Keramim. Thus Israel subdued Ammon. 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 When Jephthah returned to his home in Mizpah, wood should come out to meet him, but his thought, aray ko, ibo-burnt offering niya. Kasi nangako siya eh. Ano ba yan? When Jephthah returned to his home in Mizpah, wood should come out to meet him, but his daughter, dancing to the sound of tambourines. You're bad. Anak pa talaga niya, guys. She was only child. Pero mo yun, no? Tapos ibo-burnt offering mo. Ka-Lord ka. Kinikilabutan ako. Except for her, he had neither son nor daughter. When he saw her, he tore his clothes and cried. Ikaw kasi nangangako ka. Oh, my daughter, you have made me miserable, and it's because I have made a vow to the Lord that I cannot break. My father, she replied, you have given your word to the Lord. Do to me just as you promised, now that the Lord has avenged you for your enemies, the Ammonites. But grant me this one request, he said. Give me 2 months to roam the hills and weep with my prince, because I will never marry. Then the woman went to her. Mali. Sabi na sa'yo, sa sobrang nipis eh, maano ka talaga. Pagka nilipat mo sa ibang page, malalagpas ka. You may go, he said, and he led her. You may go, sa chapter 38, guys. You may go, he said, and he let her go for 2 months. She and the girls went into the house and wept because she would never marry. After the 2 months, she returned to her father, and he did to her as he had vowed, and she was a virgin. From this comes the Israelite custom that each year the young women of Israel go out to 4 days to commemorate the daughter of Jephthah the Gileadite. Kawawa naman, no? Burnt offering. Kaya nyo yan guys, anak nyo, iba-burnt offering nyo. Hindi ko tuloy maintindihan kung talagang offer to Father God yun or what. Pero nakasulat dito sa Bible yun magagawa natin. Hindi, burnt offering yun. Jephthah and Ephraim. The men of Ephraim called out their forces, crossed over to Zebulun, and said to Jephthah, "Why did you go to fight the Ammonites without calling us to go with you? We're going to burn down your house over your head." Jephthah answered, "I and my people were engaged in a great struggle with the Ammonites, and although I called, you didn't save me out of their hands. When I saw that you wouldn't help, I took my life in my hands and crossed over to fight the Ammonites. And the Lord gave me the victory over them. Now why have you come up today to fight me?" Jephthah then called together the men of Gilead and fought against Ephraim. Nako, sila-sila na nag-aaway. The Gileadites struck them down because the Ephraimites had said, "You Gileadites are renegades from Ephraim and Manasseh." The Gileadites captured the fords of the Jordan leading to Ephraim, and when every survivor of Ephraim said, "Let me cross over," the men of Gilead asked him, "Are you an Ephraimite?" If he replied no, they said, "All right, say Shibboleth." All right, say Shibboleth. If he said Shibboleth, because he could not pronounce the word correctly, tinanggalan ng letter H. This is him and called him at the fords of the Jordan. 42,000 Ephraimites were killed that time. Jephthah led Israel 6 years. Then Jephthah the Gileadite died and was buried in a town in Gilead. Ibzan, Elon, and Ebdon. After him, Ibzan of Bethlehem led Israel. He had 30 sons and 30 daughters. Grabe naman. Ibig sabihin, 60 children. Isang lang to, isang asawa lang. Grabe naman. He had 30 sons and 30 daughters. He gave his daughters away in marriage to those outside his clan, and for his sons he brought in 30 young women as wives from outside his clan. Ibzan led Israel 7 years. Then Ibzan died and was buried in Bethlehem. Pero talaga na-amaze ako dito sa 60 children, guys. Yun nga lang isang dosenang anak eh, parang hirap na yung basta no comment ako dyan, dami. After him, sabit lang guys, 11 muna tayo guys. Chat, burst. Sorry, bulol na. Bilis na. After him, Elon the Zebulonite led Israel 10 years. The Elon died and was buried in Aijalon in the land of Zebulun. So, ang dami na rin palang namumuno talaga sa Israel. Well, hindi ko matik yung ilang taon sabi niya dapat kinuha daw nung time na yan. Eh kung katulad ko na ngayon lang nakabasa ng history nito, hindi baka ganun din sila. Nabasa lang namin, dapat hindi na sinulat para hindi na malaman. Diba? Yung tiyan ko nawala na kasi ako Dito muna tayo sa verse 11. Dito ako na sa 40,000 Ephraimites na matayo. Sa verse 6 ng chapter 12. Hindi lang ma-pronounce ng mabuti yung Shibboleth. Pag naan lang na Shibboleth, papatayin na. Grabe. Dito naman na tayo sa verse 11. After him, Elon the Zebulunite led Israel 10 years. Then Elon died and was buried in Aijalon, in the land of Zebulun. After him, Abdon, son of Hillel, from Peraton, led Israel. He had 40 sons. Bakit ang dadami talaga nilang anak, guys? And 30 grandsons. Grandsons okay lang. Pero yung anak, di ko talaga ma-imagine kung bakit ganun karami. He had 40 sons and 30 grandsons who rode on 70 donkeys. He led Israel 80 years. 80 years. 80 years. Dinagdagan naman. He led Israel 8 years. Then, Abdon, son of Hillel, died and was buried at Peraton in Ephraim in the whole country of the Amalekites. Yun, lipat na tayo sa... Pero gusto kong tingnan ulit yung Tingnan mo guys, ang dadami nilang anak nung araw, no? 60, 40, saan ka pa? Ilang taon silang bago nagreklamo yung Ephraimites? Natandaan niyo ba kung ilang taon? The men of Ephraim called the forces. Binalikan ko yung chapter 12 guys kung ilang taon silang bago yung dito sa sa chapter 11 pala. Yung yun? Amalekites ba o Ammonites? Ammonites, guys. Ang hirap mag-aral ng Bible, no? Kamabasa lang, nakalimutan na agad. For, sa verse 26, nandito yung nakalagay. Chapter 11, verse 26, basahin nyo. Gagawin kong description to para description. For 300 years Israel occupied Heshbon, Aroer. Them during that time I have not wronged you, but you are doing me wrong by waging war against me. Let the Lord... Verse 26. For 300 years Israel occupied Heshbon, Aroer, the surrounding settlements, and all the towns along the Arnon. Why didn't you retake? Sabi niya, why you didn't retake them during that time? O nga, tama nga naman. Meron mo 300 years. Tsaka palang may nag-claim. Kasi naman, kung katulad ko, ilang na tayo ngayon, ilang generation na bago ko nabasa rin ang Bible. Tapos, syempre, nahulog tuloy. And then, syempre, i-claim din. Halimbawa, may generation na katulad ko ngayon, i-claim kung babawiin nila yung Israel. Tapos, Ang isasagot naman ng Israel, ilang dekada na, ilang generation na bago bawiin. Tama nga naman. Sana nung araw pa. Ganun talaga eh. Hindi sana hindi na lang sinulat sa Bible para hindi malaman ng ibang tao. Kasi may magkiklaim at magkiklaim talaga guys eh. Tulad niyan, ang dami nilang ginera. Pero sabi kasi pangako ni Father God, so wala kang magagawa. Dito na tayo sa Luke chapter 6 verse 1 to 26. Pero paano yung kung may magkiklaim din na tapos iba yung God nila? Ano na lang, kung sino na lang ang mananalo, ganun. Yan ang tunay na God. Ang hirap mag-decide sa ganun. The disciples speak with, dito tayo sa chapter 6 verse 1. The disciples speak with on the Sabbath. Nasa Matthew na rin to. One Sabbath Jesus was going through the green fields, and his disciples began to pick some heads of grain. Bilis na, work na tayo. Rub them in their hands and eat their kernels. Some of the Pharisees asked, "Why are you doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath?" Kailangan talaga guys, pag Sabbath, wala ka talagang gagawin. Jesus answered them, "Have your neighbor read that David did when he and his companions were hungry? He entered the house of God and taking the consecrated bread, he ate what is lawful. Only the priest ate, and only for priest to eat." Yung pangpari lang. Pero kinain daw ni David. And he also gave some to his companions. Then Jesus said to them, "The son of Mar is Lord." Huh? Hindi ko mabasa. The son of Mar is Lord of the Sabbath. Hindi ko po maintindihan. Baka may mga expert kung ano ibig sabihin to. Then Jesus said to them, "The son of Mar is Lord of the Sabbath." The son of man. Sa Mar naman to. Naguhitan kasi. The son of man is Lord of the Sabbath. Kaya hindi ko maintindihan noon. Ano? M-A-N yan. At sa dami na kasi nang nakasulat sa ano na yung ballpen. Kaya sabi ko sa iyo, pag matapos ko tong Bible hindi na maintindihan ng susunod na babasa. Ang daming sulat-sulat. Jesus heals a man's hand on the Sabbath. On another Sabbath, he went into the synagogue and was teaching, and a man was there whose right hand was shriveled. Oh. Anong shriveled? Google natin mamaya. The Pharisees and the teachers of the law were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus, so they watched him closely to see if he would heal on the Sabbath. But Jesus knew what they were thinking and said to the man with his shriveled hand, "Get up and stand in front of everyone." So he got up and stood there. Then Jesus said to them, "I asked you which is lawful to the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save life or to destroy it." He looked around at them all and then said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He did so, and his hand was completely restored. So ibig sabihin ng shriveled, siya, may kapansanan yung kamay. Hindi pa na-google na na kaagad. He looked around them and said to the man, "Stretch your hand." And his hand completely restored. Sa verse 11 na tayo. But they were furious and began to discuss with one another and they might do to Jesus. So, talaga, bago nila pinako sa krus si Jesus talaga, gumagawa talaga sila. Kung nag ano na sila, yung kung saan nag-iimbestiga na sila about kay Jesus. Ayan dito pa lang sa pag ano ni, kasi nga bawal sa kanila yung ano guys, yung gagawa ka ng, magtatrabaho ka sa Sabbath day. Pero sa generation kasi natin ngayon, ano na eh, katulad kahapon, yan lang ang time natin na ano, comment ulit sa Sabbath day. Jesus chooses the 12 disciples. Hindi, inaano ko lang kung applicable pa ba sa generation natin ngayon yung Sabbath day. Siguro yung panahon ni Jesus, hindi na rin gaano applicable. Kasi ano to ni Moses eh, batas to ni Moses. Eh si Jesus, nakita niyo yung pang ilang generation na siya. 76 yata. Yung ano, binilang ko kung ilan yung mga nagdaang bago si Jesus. Mula kay Father God. Sa side siya ni Judah eh. Hindi ba 13 yung anak ni Israel? Si Jesus doon sa side ni Judah. Naka-align. Yung ancestor niya, doon naka-align. Nabasa ko lang din. Jesus chooses the 12 disciples. Sa verse 12. One of those days, Jesus went out to the mountainside to pray and spent the night praying to God. When morning came, he called his disciples to him and chose 12 of them, whom he also designated apostles. Simon, whom he named Peter, his brother Andrew, James, John, Paul, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, son of Alphaeus, Simon, who was called the Zealot, Judas, son of James, and Judas Iscariot. Oh, dalawa ang Judas. Judas, son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who became a traitor. So, ilan yun lahat? 1, si Simon Peter yan 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So, dalawa pala ang Judas talaga. Kaya, pag nabasa natin ngayon, yung Judas na son of James, yun ang matinong Judas. Ang Judas Iscariot, yun yung nag-rider kay Jesus. Jesus gives the Beatitudes. Ay, hanggang 26 pala tayo. Sa verse 17, he went down with them and stood on a level place, a large crowd with the disciples. So, teka lang guys, binalikan ko ulit. Si Simon, ang pangalan is Peter. Tapos yung may isang Simon naman, ang who was called the Zealot. Zealot naman ang tawag sa kanya. Oh. Dapat si original Simon. Kasi dalawa ang Simon. Tingnan mo guys sa mga ni Jesus, mga disciples. Kung tutusin, dalawa ang Simon. Dalawa rin ang Judas. Kaya lang pinalitan lang niya ang Simon. Kumbaga also known as Peter. Itong unang Simon. Tapos yung pangalawang Simon naman, who was called the Zealot. Yun. Pag hindi ko maintindihan, binabalikan ko talaga. Yan talaga pag nagbabasa, nag-aaral kayo. Sinasabayan mo ng aral. He went down with him and stood on a level place. A large crowd of his disciples was there, and a great number of people from all over Judea, from Jerusalem, and from the coast of Tyre and Sidon, who had come to hear him and to behold of their diseases. Yan, isa pa yan. Kaya talaga minsan maraming crowd. Sino ba ang, syempre gusto ng lahat gumaling. Diba? Those troubled by evil spirits were cured, and the people all tried to touch him, because power was coming from him and healing them all. Pero kung doktor ka, sa halip, for example, sa panahon natin ngayon, magpapagaling ka ng may sakit, hindi ka naman doktor, so dadayuhin ka. Yung mga professional na doktor, alam ko mananaghili na yan kasi meron man nagpapakadalubhasa sila, gumasto sila para mag-aral ng pagka-doktor, tapos yung mga may sakit doon sa iba pupunta. So it's unfair, diba? So baka nga ito yung mga minsan yung mga pare kasi nung araw, diba? Mga pare sila yung tinalaga na magpapagaling. Sabi ko nga maraming yung pare judge na siya, doktor na siya, tapos nag-offering pa sila. Yun. Siguro nakita nila kay Jesus na nagpapagaling si Jesus. Kaya sila. Hindi nila aywan. Reaction ko lang ulit yun. Dito na tayo sa troubled by evil spirits were cured, and the people all tried to touch him because power was coming from him and healing them all. Looking at his disciples, he said, "Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who hunger now, for you will be satisfied. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. Blessed are you when men hate you, when they exclude you and insult you, and reject your name as evil, because of the Son of Man." Kanina tinanong ko talaga, anong Son of Man? Man pala. Kasi nga ang dami nang nakasulat. Sa sobrang dami nakasulat, na lalagyan siya ng ball pen. Rejoice in the day and leap for joy, because great is your reward in heaven, for that is how their fathers treated the prophets. Oh, nakalagay sa verse 23, guys. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, because great is your reward in heaven, for that is how their fathers treated the prophets. Sa yung mga propeta. But woe to you who are rich. Hinulaan kasi yung mga mahihirap. Sabi, blessed daw are the poor. Pero Father God, pwede bang bless mo na rin yung mayayaman na gumagawa naman ng kabutihan. But what do you who are rich? Nagreklamo yung tiyan ko. Ayaw. Pambihira. But what do you who are rich? For you have already received your comfort. Woe to you who are filled now, for you will go hungry. Woe to you who laugh now, for you will mourn and weep. Woe to you when all men speak well of you, for that is how their fathers treated the false prophets. Kawawa naman po yung mga mayayaman kung ganito ang diba? Pero basta ako, yung aming scientific hero, gumagawa ng kabutihan. Kaya nga yan kasi sinusunod yun sa Bible na lahat gumawa ng kabutihan sa kapwa para magkaroon ng upuan sa langit. So yan, Father God, masaya lang. Idol feel din masaya lang. Okay, hanggang 26 na tayo. Bye everyone. God bless.